Honorable Judge O'Keefe. I am Patrick Stewart, P-A-T-R-I-C-K-S-T-E-W-A-R-T, husband of Lindsay Smart Stewart and brother-in-law to Kristin Smart. I thank the court for granting me time to enter into record the impact that Paul Flores' rape and murder of Kristin Smart have had on Lindsay, myself, and my children. Kristin suddenly disappearing from Lindsay's life when she was only 14 years old had a profound impact for the rest of her life, often in ways she does not completely realize. Firstly, Lindsay is one of the most safety-conscious women I've ever known. She will not go anywhere that makes her feel even mildly unsafe, because, to paraphrase, you never know when you're going to get abducted. Not robbed, harassed, or assaulted, simply disappeared off the face of the earth. She applies this lens to vacation destinations, living situations, and anywhere that anyone in her family may go. 8 years ago, she came very close to building an app that would let women check in with each other when they go out at night because, of all things, this is what she thought the world needed most. And even now, though we live in a very safe neighborhood with few cars and friendly neighbors, she still won't walk down the street at night to the mailbox alone. Secondly, Paul's unrepentant 25-year evasion of law enforcement left her unable to fully process the loss of her sister. When the Smart family finally declared Kristin dead and held a memorial service in 2002, the only way they could get Lindsay, then a college freshman, to attend was to simply bring her to the service just before it started without telling her what she was going to in advance. It took her nearly 2 decades to go back on her own and visit Kristin's Point of Hope in Pismo Beach. I can remember several times when Lindsay would grow irritated with her parents for bringing up Kristin's disappearance because it was simply too much for her to process. Mind you, she would talk about her fond childhood memories of Kristin frequently, and appear on news programs whenever she felt she might be able to convince someone new to come forward with information. But she spent half her life actively avoiding anything to do with these last few hours of Kristin's life. The ripple effects of Paul Flores raping and murdering my sister-in-law have hit me as well. I have had to come face to face with the truth that people like Paul Flores, who give no second thought to drugging and raping women, freely walk around us all the time. In trying to prepare myself for hearing the testimony of the Doe witnesses, I read the horrifying account of one Jane from an article from the Daily Beast, which I cannot seem to get out of my mind now, and realized my own daughters, now 2, 4, and 6, might face a monster like this before they get their driver's licenses. I will now read the information of the article into testimony. Author M.L. Nestel, N-E-S-T-E-L, July 12, 2017, titled, 4 Women Say the Man Suspected of Murdering a College Student Sexually Assaulted Them. The Daily Beast, and the URL is submitted in the record. Jane said she took Flores up on carpool offers to and from high school whenever she would be walking solo from her mother's home in Arroyo Grande, California. That's how we met. I was walking and he pulled over and said, "Hey, I'll take you to school," she remembered, Flores asking her. We both were kids at the same school, so I felt comfortable. It wasn't like some older guy or anything. Back then, Jane remembered Flores pulling up to her on multiple occasions behind the wheel of a green pickup truck. She never saw accepting the rides as anything but wholesome. It was never like, "Hey, you want to go back and hook up?" He never made advances, and he would just say hi at school. One day, Jane was congregating in front of the high school when a male friend approached her and warned her about one particular junior. This boy walked up to me and said, "Oh hey, you need to be careful of that Paul Flores. I think he's stalking you. He was writing your name like 150 times on a piece of paper and kept circling it. High school boys are weird anyway, Jane thought at the time, so maybe he had a crush on me. I wasn't freaked out. But soon Flores took his shot with Jane after another drop-off at her mom's house. He returned later that Friday, and they drove to his friend's home, which Jane described as sparsely furnished. The living room had a TV and one sofa on the floor, and the wall was white, she said. The duplex was located up the same street from where her mom resided. It was just the three of them, standing in the kitchen before Jane was handed a plastic cup. I drank this drink, and I don't know what it was, but let me tell you something. The next thing you know, I was passed out, Jane said. And for a few moments, Jane came to and saw Flores having her way with her. I was lying down on my back. He's on top of me. I know I didn't have any pants on, and he was in me, and I could feel him, she said, of the 3 seconds she managed to wake up from the slumber that took hold of her. He was staring at my face, looking at me, and he was enjoying himself. After that, she blacked out. The only thing that she remembered next was being dragged in the barely lit street by her alleged rapist in one arm and his pal in the other. She remembers being dragged down Elm Street as she vomited, propped up by a young man and his pal who snickered and cursed her. They were giggling as they were dragging me, the now 39-year-old woman told the Daily Beast. I was throwing up, and they were saying, "Oh, this bitch better not throw up on me." They left me there and knocked on my mom's door really hard, then ran off. Jane, who is telling her story for the first time, said, "My mom opened the door and she cries, 'Oh my God.' They took off running," Jane said. "I remember thinking, my mom's not home. I'm going to die right here." I told her, "Mom, he raped me." Jane's mother frantically phoned her father. When he arrived, she stayed at home while Jane's father hightailed it to Arroyo Grande Community Hospital. Jane was admitted. Once Jane was admitted, her story seemed to fall on deaf ears. The Arroyo Grande cops, Jane said, favored Flores' story that she willingly drank and had sex that night. The next thing I know is the cops telling me, "We can't do anything because Paul and his friend are saying she was drunk and it was consensual." But Jane said she fought to get them to reconsider. I was like, "It wasn't. I blacked out and didn't consent to anything." However hard she and her father fought back, there was no chance they were going to get beyond the he said, she said. I was drunk, and he had a witness, and I didn't, Jane said. Again, I have 3 daughters. You can understand my concern when reading the story. I get the thought, I can't get the thought out of my mind that Jane, Kristin, or any of Paul's other victims did nothing wrong, and that there is a chance that my daughters might face their same fate. The depravity and pain that Paul Flores has brought to our society has shaken me deeply. I will be enrolling my 6-year-old daughter into jiu-jitsu. I understand how crazy this sounds. Enrolling my 6-year-old daughter into jiu-jitsu with the hopes that she will have enough muscle memory by the time she's an adult to defend herself against an assault, but also knowing that there is no defensive drug. Many times sitting in this courtroom, I can feel my hands trembling with rage at the sight of Paul Flores, which is a feeling I never had before and wish to not experience again. The images of grave sites and the ball-gagged victim haunt the back of my mind no matter how hard I try to forget them. Simply knowing that Paul had so many images of exploited children on his hard drive enrages me. Not even our children have found shelter from what Paul Flores did to their aunt, despite our best efforts to shield them from reality. My oldest daughter has asked us several times, what happened to Kristin? Or is the bad man who killed Kristin in jail? A year ago, my then 3-year-old led me across a friend's yard to a flower pot saying, Kristin is buried here. During the trial, Lindsay and I would leave early and come home late, bookended by our kids crying and saying how much they missed us. They could feel the tension in us for months on end. Your Honor, please put Paul Flores away for the rest of his life. At the core of his being, he is an unapologetic sexual predator. At any point in the last 26 years, he could have done the right thing by confessing and returning Kristin's remains. Instead, he used the freedom that his parents afforded him after Kristin's murder and just kept on drugging and raping woman after woman after woman. At his age, he is who he is and unlikely to change his ways. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.